everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to go over the best and worst places that I stayed on the AT for the first 710 miles that I ended up actually walking. So I will say that I stayed in a lot of places. I have 20 on this list and I'm going to show them from worst to best. Feel free to fast forward ahead if you really want to see what the good stuff is. Most of them I'd say weren't terrible, but there's definitely a few that there's just some pros and cons of where you want to stay at each one. So I'm going to go over price, what they had to offer, and whether or not I would stay at those again. Starting out at number 20, there's the Fontana Village Resort in Fontana Dam, North Carolina. It is $175 a night, by far the most expensive place that I stayed, and kind of not that nice. Definitely not worth the price. It is, however, the only real place you can stay before the Smokies, unless you stay in the Fontana Hilton, which is basically the shelter there, which does have nice showers and things along that sort, but you still kind of want to go into the village for any sort of resupply that you need. They have a good resupply store there. You can also membership a package, which is what I did. They also have a couple restaurants, so you can actually get like a nice meal, and the food is pretty decent. On the downside there, the check-in time is very, very hard check-in time, so you'd have to wait until that time. Laundry was like $7, so that was a whole extra price that had to be thrown in there. It was also a really long ass walk up this big ass hill to get to the room from where check-in was, and I had to do it twice because my key didn't work the first time I went up to the room. So that was, after you've done all that walking, really annoying thing to have to do. There is a shuttle from the trailhead. It picks up at a few different locations right near the Fontana Dam area where you can go from the dam, you can go from the shelter, and then there's like a boat dock store that you can go from as well. Shuttle's $5. It comes at very specific times, so you have to like hit it just right in order to be able to get it. Otherwise, you're walking the mile to the resort or hitchhiking if that works for you. I ended up walking a little ways before I got a hitch the rest of the way, and it was pouring rain when I went there. So that was nice to be able to have that. I would not stay at this place. Like, no. Even if I was just going to go visit the area, I would find another place to go. This is definitely stay at the shelter or camp out somewhere. I would still go in to get resupply or a package or whatever you need, or if you want to do laundry right before you head up the Smokies. But other than that, don't stay there. Number 19 on the list would be the Laughing Heart Lodge in Hot Springs, North Carolina. It is $35 a night for a bunk. They also have tenting and private rooms there. I'm not sure of the prices there. You'll have to look those up. It is located right off the trail. You literally have to like walk right by it to continue the trail. So it's very conveniently placed. It's also right in Hot Springs. It is on the edge of town, so you have to walk to get into town. But again, you can get to the end of the town in less than a mile. So it's not too bad of a trek. And there's a set of stairs, like the shortcut, which it's not really a shortcut. It is the trail, but instead of having to walk the road into town, you can just take that. That's kind of nice. They have the standard laundry, loaner clothes. They do have 2 washing machines, which is nice. There's not all the hostels I stayed at had 2, so that was useful. They also have free coffee, loaner fridge, and the standard stuff that hikers leave behind was available as well. They did have a pretty good large size hiker box with plenty of toilet paper and stuff like that in it. The downside of this hostel, which is why I ranked it so low, is that it had the most uncomfortable beds I've ever slept in. Like, I would have been better off camping out. If I was to stay there again, I would camp out. I would not stay in one of those beds. The box springs were like digging into my back in all different directions. I had to like contort myself to try and sleep in there. So definitely would not recommend staying in the bunk, but the environment itself was fine. So I would say if you're going to stay there, tent out. You still get use of all the amenities and whatnot, which is nice. The bathrooms there were kind of falling apart a little bit. There was definitely times where like the handle on the toilet came off, so it was difficult to flush, and there's only a couple of them, so it can be a little iffy as to when you can get in there and to be able to use it. So just be mindful of that if you're gonna stay in that hostel. Right, next on the list is the Mountain Inn and Suites in Irwin, Tennessee. It is kind of a bit of a trek from the trail, so you will need to get a shuttle to get there unless you're gonna walk, like I think it was like 2 miles or something like that from the trail. So not the most ideal location. Near it there is a Mexican restaurant, which wasn't too bad, and a gas station, so you can get resupply. It's a little bit expensive there, but it's possible to make that all happen. The hotel was $117 a night. Laundry was an extra $5. The laundry machine was extremely old and did not entirely dry my clothes, so I still had to hang them up in the room in order to get them fully dry by the next day. That was kind of annoying. The hotel is kind of like a cheap motel. There's nothing super special about it, but it's not the worst. It does have free breakfast, so there was a free hot breakfast and whatnot there. That is the same town that Uncle Johnny's is in. I would suggest trying to stay at Uncle Johnny's over this. It just depends on like when you're trekking in. I was coming from farther away when I stayed here due to like a bunch of rain and stuff that was going on. So I did get an actual ride like from like 15 miles back. So that's another option of places to stay in the area. Not the best. They do have a list of shuttles, but shuttles are a bit spotty in the area, so it can be kind of hard to get to and from town unless you plan ahead of time, especially if there's a big crowd of people that are coming through. So it wasn't terrible to stay in, but I wouldn't stay there again. At number 17, I've got Braemars Castle, and that one is located in Hampton, Tennessee. It is not really a castle, it's more like a stone building. It was $30 a night, and that includes laundry. They actually do the laundry for you. They don't fold it, but they wash it and dry it for you and then hand it back to you. They don't have any loaner clothes there, but you can figure out how to make that work for yourself. The town itself is really small. It is right across the street, well, sort of across the street from a grocery store. The store does close at like 6 p.m. and the supply is pretty low. You can get enough for a resupply, but not a whole lot there. Down the road, there's a Dollar General that's about a mile away, and there's like a Dunkin' Donuts, but there really isn't a whole lot in this town. It's very small, and there's absolutely nothing to do. The castle itself, for entertainment, had old school DVDs and VHS player. It didn't really have a whole lot of DVDs to choose from, so I ended up watching a VHS, which was kind of fun just to relive those 90s eras and remembering how to work a VCR, which I completely forgot how to do. So to do that, I think I would stay in this place again if I absolutely needed to. I don't know under what circumstances I would ever want to go back to the town of Hampton, Tennessee for. So probably won't ever go back there. It wasn't a horrible place to stay though. It was actually pretty nice, and it is close to the trail. You can get there, I think it was like 0.7 miles or something like that from the trailhead. So not very far at all, which wasn't bad. The doors to the rooms do not lock, so if you do have your stuff left around, anything could happen to it. Nothing happened when I was there, but that is a possibility. And the showers were also pretty small. I'm not that large of a person, and I could basically touch the walls with my shoulders, so just keep that in mind if you're gonna stay there. Next up is number 16, which is Uncle Johnny's, the other place in Irwin, Tennessee that I stayed. This one is directly off the trail. You walk right up to it, basically, when you come down. So super easy to get to. It does get packed if it is raining. I got there on a rainy night and ended up having to camp because there was absolutely no space left anywhere. So I tented out that night. A couple people's tents got flooded. Tenting was only $15, which was nice, and you could still do laundry, access to loaner clothes, and all the things that were there. The bunks I ended up staying in the following day as there was another torrential downpour, and that was $30. I will say that I actually kind of liked tenting better than I liked the bunks there, just because the bunk room was not very clean. Like, there was no cleaning between me going there and the person that left before me. It was basically just go into the bunk room, throw your stuff on a bed, and claim it. They don't have any sheets or anything like that, no pillows, none of that stuff. So it's very much just bare bones there. They do have a pretty decent resupply, and then there's a free shuttle that'll take you into town in the morning and then pick you up in the evening. There's 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening, so you can kind of stay out there a short amount of time or the whole day, depending on what you feel like. So that was convenient. There's also other shuttles that'll go back and forth between those areas that you can call, so you don't have to technically wait around that long to get where you need to get to. There are heaps of people that stay at this hostel, so it will be very packed. And while it can get a little loud, it's not actually too bad. I guess there's sort of like party-ish areas, but nobody was really going crazy or anything like that. That could have also been due to the torrential rain, so that is another thing. But yeah, this place, it wasn't bad. I would choose it over the Mountain Inn and Suites, but I don't think I would want to stay in the bunk house again if I was to go there. Alright, so next up on the list is the Boots Off Hostel. It is $30 a night. Laundry is an extra $5. That's for the bunks. There's also camping and cabins and stuff, and the prices vary for each of those. It is located directly off the trail, but literally near nothing else. There's nothing else there. I mean, there's a lake, but there's nothing else. When I went, they had actually closed down water activities because of trail days. So everybody who got there found out that aqua blazing and stuff was going to be just shut down once we were already there, which is kind of why it's lower on this list, just because their communication on that wasn't the best. I will say that the accommodations were pretty nice. Everything was clean. It did have probably the best showers on the trail, but they definitely seemed to bite off a little bit more than they could chew. So I guess it depends on when you show up and what exactly you're looking for, as far as the experience that you get there. It also does have a ton of people, since it's one of the only hostels. Braemars Castle's near there too, but it's much farther down the road. So not quite along the same trail. Like, that one's off a trail detour, and this one's right on the AT. They do have shuttles as well, so they'll take you to wherever you need to go. I got an easy shuttle into Damascus from there, so that was convenient as well. But the main feature, which is the lake, wasn't open, so again, not the best experience there. I don't know, I might go back to that one if I knew that the lake was operational and I could actually use the facilities for what they had. Otherwise, might skip that one. Next on the list is the Station at 19E. This one is also $30 a night, and that's for a bunk, and it includes showers as well. They do have some private rooms as well, although they're not the most private of things. Like, everything's kind of in its own little room, but you can hear everything. The walls are not that thick, so you can hear everything through the walls. It kind of depends just who's around. So the first night I was there, it was super quiet. There was only like 3 people there. It was very chill, very relaxing. The next night it was like Party City. Everything was full. There was like movies being played. The bar was hopping all night long. So it's definitely a whatever the crowd's doing type of atmosphere. They do have food that you can purchase downstairs, as well as drinks. There was a small resupply available as well for anyone who needed it, but I actually had a package delivered there. Super easy to pick up and get, and I got everything that I needed. There wasn't a whole lot to do just around the town area. It is pretty close to the trail. I think it was like just over half a mile. You can get a pickup, but you can just walk it. It's not that difficult of a walk. I will say that if you're looking for like a grocery store resupply, it's not the easiest to get into town. The shuttles were not readily available. Sometimes there'll be some random person that'll come around and offer shuttles into town for people to go to like the Dollar Tree and whatnot. But unless you get them at exactly the right time, you're really not going to get a great resupply. So I would suggest mailing a package or just being prepared to purchase the resupply that they have there. The food was good though at the bar downstairs, so you do get a nice good meal, and there's a proper like pub menu. So I would say like I would go back here. The beds weren't not comfortable. They weren't the best, but they weren't the worst either. So yeah, this place overall was pretty good. All right, so next on the list is the first place that I stayed, which is the Best Western in Blairsville. This is, I mean, if you're sharing it with somebody else, it's not too bad. It was like $100 a night for a room. They do a free breakfast there. It's like the typical hotel continental breakfast, and it's next to everything. There's all the stuff in the town, really easy to get to. You can walk to whatever you need to get to. I think I just walked right across the street to get some pizza, which is nice, but it is very far from the trail. Like, you do need to get a shuttle into there. The shuttle was anywhere from $30 to $45, just depending on who you end up getting it with. So that was a little bit inconvenient. The hotel itself, I mean, there's nothing special about it. It was a Best Western. It's a hotel. It was good for the night, but there isn't any laundry there. So if you do need to do laundry, you're gonna have to find a place in town or stay somewhere else. And we've got the Weary Feet Hostel. This one is a blue blaze that you can take that's right off the trail, super easy to get to. Again, it's not really near anything, but they do have shuttles daily to get you into where you need to get to. They also offer a hiker breakfast, hiker dinner, and sometimes they'll offer a hiker lunch depending on how many people are there. The food is good. You do have to pay extra for each of it. I think it was like $15 for dinner and like $10 for breakfast, something like that. Then they had like different cakes you can choose for dessert. So those were all really good. Food was delicious. You get massive portions, and if you're still hungry, they'll give you more. It was almost impossible for me to just eat one of the full portions. They were so big, but they were really good. So I would suggest, if you're looking for a nice home-cooked meal, that is a good place to go. Otherwise, they don't really have like kitchen facilities that you can use. I mean, there's like a microwave and like coffee and stuff, but then they'll have like I think it was lemonade and Tang that were readily available at any point if you wanted to have them. They had laundry, which was included in it as well, and they have a really good resupply, tons of snacks and stuff, as well as like drinks and whatnot. And everything was there, was pretty nice. Everything was clean. I will say that the internet was probably the slowest internet that I've seen on the trail so far. Trying to even watch a movie on the Roku on the 0 day that I took there, it was just stop and go the whole time. The internet worked a lot better during the day, but once all the rest of the hikers got there, like, forget about it. You weren't going to be able to do really anything on your device, and there was no cell phone reception. I have T-Mobile, so I don't know. Maybe other people got better reception. It didn't seem like it, though. There were not a whole lot of phone calls and what being had. So not the best for connectivity, but conveniently located and some good food. Next is the Four Pines Hostel, which I've heard some mixed reviews on here, and as well as far out. There were some people that are saying, like, don't go there under any circumstances. I went there and I didn't have any of whatever issues that they were talking about. Everybody was super nice. They cooked you a massive dinner that right when I showed up, they were cooking, and it was a spread. You could have as much as you wanted. Even people that came out late, they basically just said, like, go into the fridge, get whatever dinner you want. And it was great. It was very filling, lots of stuff. They had, I think it was like sloppy joes that night, but they also had vegetarian sloppy joes, and they had chips and salad and pasta and watermelon, like all sorts of things. So it was delicious. They do have a giant fluffy dog, which was awesome too. Super chill, very relaxed type of atmosphere. It's not the cleanest of hostels. It is entirely donation based, so they do what they can. For what they have there, it's like a great place to stay, and they'll find space for everybody. So you can grab a bunk if you show up there, grab a couch, just grab some space outside. I think there was around 50 people there the night that I showed up, so it was very packed, a big crowd, but everybody was just like very chill kind of atmosphere, nothing crazy going on. There was even like a Boy Scout troop that stayed outside. So I definitely recommend this one. It was really close to the trail. I think it was like a third of the mile of the way, and they'll even give you a ride to the trail too if you need one in the morning. Although it's the 10-minute walk, so it's really not too bad. So yeah, this one is definitely a good one to stay at. I would stay there again. Just make sure, like, if you're gonna stay there, don't abuse the donation system. They have a little you can Venmo them, but they also have a little drop box for cash and stuff. So definitely give towards that what you would normally pay for a regular bunk anywhere, as much as you can. Next on the list is the Around the Bend Hostel in Hiawassee. This one was $50 a night for a bunk. They also have private rooms as well. Unsure how much those are. It's got an outfitters that's pretty well stocked with heaps of resupply, and it's like your standard type of REI type stuff that you would get there. So you can get some good things. They do mail drops as well. And then in the morning there is a free unlimited waffle bar. So that was pretty nice. They've got like pizzas, frozen pizzas and frozen burritos and stuff, you know, the typical hostel type food that you can purchase, as well as just snacks around. The town shuttle is very hit or miss. It wasn't running one of the days that we were there, but we managed to get it from the trail to the hostel and then again into town, but then had to take like a shuttle back to town. So it is kind of just what you get. The town itself, it's got your standard resupply and everything that you would need. There was a nice brewery, bar, pub, whatever, I don't know what it was, but it had really good food there and really good Mexican street corn. I would highly suggest going to that place. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm sure if you show up they'll be able to tell you what it is. And the hostel wasn't bad either. Next up is the Merry Hiker Inn. This one is $36 a night for a bunk. They also have, I think, like one or two private rooms. One private room, maybe two. I don't know, just one. They have a soaking bathtub. Not that I actually used it, but in the event that you wanted to like put some Epsom salt or something in there and go for a soak, they had that. They did only have one laundry machine, which for the amount of people that were staying there, it was kind of difficult to get your laundry in. You had to like be quick about it. And then there was a line to get it done because there are particular hours for laundry there. I also noticed that it was like really hot there at night when everyone was staying there. I don't know if the AC was broken or what, but people had been like trying to lower it, and it was just really hot. It was a sticky night, and I actually just get pretty cold in most places, so it was kind of weird for me to be in that area. We had all the windows to the room that I was in was wide open in order to keep a little bit of airflow in there, and those were open all night long, and that was the only thing that was able to keep us cool. Aside from that, it also has like probably the biggest hiker box that I've ever seen. There was like multiple boxes just full of all sorts of things, and there's also an Outfitters right downstairs, and you get a discount there if you're staying upstairs, I think, or maybe that's just a military discount, I don't remember, but there's one right downstairs, very conveniently located. There's a few restaurants in the area, and there's a free shuttle to the trail and back. There's like a town bus that'll come that'll pick you up from there, and then in the morning they'll shuttle you back to the trail wherever you needed to go. That one they accept tips for that one, but the town shuttle is just like a bus, so you can just hop on that to get back into the place, and I think it goes the other way as well, but it's not as many runs on the weekends or in the off season, so you kind of just have to catch it at the right moment if you want to take that back into town. Other than that, the house was pretty nice, very clean, had all the amenities that you would need. This next one is Gorgeous Stays. It's a unique one. It's not actually a hostel. It's this little tiny house village that you stay in. What I paid for was a shared room, so I paid $72. It wasn't actually shared, and I think it only would have been shared between two people. There were only two beds there, maybe three because one of the beds was a double bed. But it was my own little tiny house. I stayed in the jazz themed one, and it had like a toilet. It was and a sink. Nothing is actually like running water. It was like pumped from the ground. I mean, it still ran when you turned it on, but it's definitely not a full thing for the individual little houses. There was a shower house that you would go to, or like a bathhouse. So that one was a little bit of a walk, but nothing too crazy. Inside the tiny house, they also had a basic little mini fridge to keep your stuff in there. And then there was a little fireplace, so I was able to turn that on because it did get kind of cold that night. The Wi-Fi in the tiny houses wasn't very strong. I couldn't really get a signal, maybe like one bar, but in the place where there's a bathhouse right above it, they have this massive resupply there that's really great, and then they have like pizzas and stuff like that you can order and cook there. So there was really good Wi-Fi in that house itself. But other than that, The little tiny houses, not so much. I was the only person actually staying there that night, which was kind of nice and kind of weird at the same time because it was such a nice place. I didn't know why other people weren't staying there, but it was just very quiet and very empty. It is a little farther from the trail, but there is a free shuttle. You can just text them and let them know, hey, I've arrived, and they'll come and they'll pick you up, and then they'll bring you back in the morning, whatever time you want to go. For me, since I was the only one there, they said whenever I want to do things, I can go back and forth. Otherwise, it would be a group thing, but they've got a big van, so plenty of space to shuttle people back and forth. It was quite a nice little spot. I didn't get to see any of the other little houses, but there's a bunch of little houses and buses and all different things that you can stay in, so it was a very cute little spot. At number 7 is Angel Thrust Hiker Heaven. I paid $24 for a bunk and $60 for a private for the second night that I was there, since I did take a 0. It is within walking distance of the trail. It's about a mile, and it's a pretty easy walk from the road. They do shuttle you from the road as well, and you get the free shuttle, but the walk really was not that bad. There's also a little trail that goes behind the Food Lion right to the hostel, so that saves you a bit of a trek. And that one, I mean, you can take it back and forth pretty easy, and it shortens the mile walk by like, I don't know, a quarter of a mile or something like that. The place itself, the bunks, they were okay. They weren't the best. They were pretty clean though. They did come in every morning and did a clean through of the bunks. And then the private room was pretty nice. It was typical standard bed in a room. They had different kind of hangout areas where the private rooms were, and everyone could hang out there. But after, I think it was 8 p.m., they only allowed the people that were staying in the private rooms to stay in there. So kitchen, living room, that sort of stuff. And then as far as showers go, they did have 3 private shower stalls outside where tenting and people that were in the bunks could use. I mean, I guess everyone could use them. They also had a couple of porta potties in case there was overflow and whatnot. And then they had 2 washer dryers, which seemed to be plenty. Nobody seemed to be backing up, and there were quite a few people there the evening that I stayed, a bunch of tenters, since there just wasn't a whole lot of space. They were quite booked up, but it was a pretty nice spot. Laundry was included if you have a private room, but if you didn't, I think it was like $5, $6, somewhere around there. Relatively cheap to be able to do it otherwise. And yeah, it was a nice spot. I would definitely go back there again if I was to be hiking in the area. At number 6 is the Dancing Bear Inn. This one is a little bit more on the pricier side. It was $107 a night. It is a private room, and it's kind of in a house, and all the rooms are upstairs. I think there was like 6 rooms. There are double rooms, but there weren't many double people staying there, so quite a bit, I don't know, empty, I guess, as space goes. They had kitchen and stuff that you could use downstairs. They had a bit of a hiker box, and then like just a fridge with extra stuff that was in there that anyone could just use as desired. It is right in the middle of downtown Damascus, which makes it very convenient. I stayed there after trail days had concluded, since I was just covered in mud along with everything else. So it was a great place just to take everything off and clean up a bit. There was only 1 bathroom though for all the people to share, 1 bathroom with 1 shower. So you did kind of have to plan that out accordingly as far as that one. But everything else is pretty good. It was nice, conveniently located. I think this is a place where you could stay even if you weren't hiking the trail, as it's just caters to whoever happens to be in town. It's an inn, it's not a hostel. But yeah, it was very nice. The next is Burkes Garden Hostel. This one was pretty close to the trail, about 3/4 of a mile. They did offer a shuttle from 2 separate locations, and then you could get a shuttle back from the road. The farther location, which was, I think it was about 2.5 miles from the trail, that one is a $10 shuttle, and you pay it when you get picked up, and then they drop you back off for free in the morning. They also have a really good resupply there. It's huge. They had tons of stuff. Also just things to eat. They had a big pizza oven, so they had tons of pizzas and all sorts of other frozen stuff that you could have. In the morning, they would bring in fresh waffle mix, so you could make waffles. And then the spot itself was super nice. It's like a converted barn. They had hammock chairs and a TV, obviously. They had laundry, as well as a couple showers and a couple of bathroom stalls. so it made it easy to be able to use whatever you needed to use. They had enough space, I think it was for like 12 people, including a private room that was downstairs. There was only about 4 of us staying there that night, so it was relatively empty. The hostel, the bunk is just one giant open space at the top of the barn, but they do have the softest beds on the entire trail, like best beds, hand down, for where to sleep. I actually would like to have one of those in my house. It was better than the bed that I've slept on my entire life. Like that, it was the best bed. So I would definitely recommend staying there, especially if you're just looking for a really good night's sleep in a super comfy bed. That's the place to go. At number 4 is a long neck Lair Alpaca farm. This one was $36 a night for a bunk. They also offer a private room, at least one. There might have been more, I don't know. This house was about half a mile from the trail, and there was a like gas station and a Mexican restaurant pretty close, so you could hit those up. There's also like a Southern food restaurant within that half a mile walk, so those were pretty conveniently close to where the actual hostel was. The place itself, the bunk room, living room, and kitchen are just one space, so it is kind of hard with the noise, although people are pretty respectful there. There is like an outdoor seating area, but the bunks are coffin style, so you are kind of like closed in your own area. I will say that the curtains are not blackout curtains though, so you can still see if someone's turning on the light or whatever when you're in those bunks. They were pretty comfortable though. They had their own fan, they had their own electrical hookup, which was nice. The farm itself also, well, it's an alpaca farm, so there's alpacas everywhere, so you could see them all. In the morning before we left, they let us all meet the alpacas, so we all got to like pet the alpacas and say hello to them, which was cool. Like, it's not something you get to do in a lot of these other places. They also have a really small resupply available there, as well as like their alpaca farm store, so if you wanted to get stuff, you could also get it and mail it home to you. They had some cool things in there, socks and hats and stuff like that. And they also do package drops, so I got a package that was dropped there, which was nice and pretty convenient. I called there earlier that day and they said they would reserve a bunk for me, so basically they just put a little sign that said reserved, and then when I texted them and said I was almost there, they said this was a bunk, it's reserved, go grab it. So it was really easy to just get in there and get settled down. They do have bucket style showers, the same kind as Boots Off do, not quite as good as Boots Off showers, but still pretty nice to have. That's definitely a stay again spot if you're hiking the trail, although it's not really close to other things, so I'm not sure how convenient it is if you're not doing the trail. All right, so top 3 here. Next is Grace's Cabin, which is number 3. It isn't one that you can actually book online. It's one that you just kind of have to get invited to stay at. Story was, I was coming down from a big hike off of a mountain. You get to the bottom and I got to this gap. It was like 5:30 p.m. I called the hostel, the Green Dragon, I believe it was, to see if they had any room available. They did not, but they gave me the number to some shuttle drivers and said this is the hotel in town that they're redirecting all these other people. When I called the shuttle driver, she said that she had just taken in her last group into town and was going to be done for the day, but if I wanted, I could come and stay at her cabin since she had a room available for somebody who happened to be stranded. Since I was in that position, I said, all right, let's go for it, even though, you know, it's kind of a weird thing to just be like, yeah, I'm going to jump in the car with this random stranger, then go to their house and stay there. Totally normal. Turns out it was great. She even stopped and we got food on the way there, and then brought me to the cabin. It was this private room, which was super nice, had a TV and I don't know, everything you could need. Across the way, there was another person that was staying in the another cabin side. They're like little tiny houses. And then that one had the bathroom with the shower and the laundry, so I was able to take a shower, do laundry, have dinner, hang out, watch some television, just kind of chill for a bit, and then in the morning she gave me a ride back to the trail. It was $65 to stay there and for the rides to and from the trail. So it was a really nice spot. I really liked it. Although you can't book it, I would say if you do happen to get stuck wherever and this is offered to you, definitely take the offer that comes along. Number 2 on my list. This is the Margaritaville in Gatlinburg. In no way, shape, or form is this a hostel. This is a like fancy high-end hotel, but I would say it was definitely worth the price. I paid $140 a night, which was actually cheaper than what I paid in Fontana, which really was not worth it whatsoever. This was totally worth the $140. It had an amazing shower, just like boots off. It was a rain shower, not a bucket, just like a proper rain shower, but it also had like a bunch of other settings, and it was huge. You could fit like 7 people in there, you know, party in the shower, whatever you wanted to do. The room itself, you know, nice king size full lave bed. There was a giant TV with a fireplace right underneath it, an electric fireplace that you had to put on. The hotel itself had a bar and restaurant and a giant pool, which nobody was even in half the time, so I totally took advantage of the pool. There was also an indoor pool, so if you got too cold outside, you go indoors. And then there was a big hot tub that I think you could fit maybe like 20 people in it. Again, I was in a hot tub by myself. Con of this one is there is no laundry, but since I was there for 3 days, I just utilized the shower and made it work however I needed to. There was, I guess, coin laundry down the street, but I stayed there because my knee was hurting, so I didn't really feel like walking down the street. Although I guess I could have taken the trolley, which I didn't actually take, but there is a free trolley within town as well, and I guess that one will take you all the way to Pigeon Forge if you wanted to go to Dollywood. That was also a thing to do. The town of Gatlinburg itself is kind of like super touristy. It's all Ripley's, believe it or not. Not the best type of normal kind of experience you'd want if you wanted to like live like the locals. You're really just in a giant tourist trap, which was fine. There was like an Outfitters down the road and whatnot, and then it was more just like a nice place to chill and relax. I would definitely stay there again, even with the bartender. That was kind of mean and didn't really serve me, but whatever. Everybody else was super chill, and it was a nice spot, so that one is definitely a stay again, for sure. And here we are at number 1 on the list, Chicka and Sunsets Hostel in Franklin. This one was, I think, $62 a night, included pickup from the trail and drop off the next morning, as well as shuttles into town. And the shuttle to town was really like you text them and say, hey, can I get a ride to the grocery store or to get some food, and they'll just take you into town. And then when you're done, you text them and say, can you pick me up? They only shuttle until 7 p.m., but honestly, you're not really doing anything after that, so that worked out perfectly fine. The hostel is really small. Only 4 people can stay there. It's 2 bedrooms, so you share with one other person, and then they have a shared bathroom for everybody, a nice little like sitting common area, as well as a kitchen with a fridge that's got pizza and whatnot in it, so you can get that. There's also places that you can order food and get it delivered there. The hostel itself was super clean, super nice, very quiet, very chill atmosphere. I mean, there was only 4 of us there, so it's not like we were gonna go crazy or anything. I would definitely stay here again. I really liked the experience. Everything was perfect and pristine as you would get on the trail. It also made it feel more, I don't know, kind of like homey and intimate, just because there's not a lot of people there, so I got to know those individuals pretty well when I was staying at that one spot. And yeah, I mean, the food in the town is pretty good. They had brewery, they had a good Mexican spot, they've got Dollar General, I think it was like Food Lion or Food City, one of those food places. So everything that you could need was there at the place. Chicka and Sunset have done a bunch of hikes, so they're also super knowledgeable. They had a ton of their books, so they've written a bunch of books that you could buy or read, whatever. You can look at all the stuff and things that they had there. But yeah, they were very chill people. They're hikers themselves, so it made it a really good place to stop, and number 1 on my list of places to stay. Here's a quick recap on the best and worst hostels that I stayed at during my time on the AT. These are all based off of my experience. Yours may be different. It's up to you to find out.